I appreciate you guys filling out a survey. So you gave me around 70 data points of the questions that you have. And overwhelmingly, two topics came up that you guys are like, well, this is on my mind. Take a wild guess what those two topics are. Yeah, what do I do with my money? Or how do I get money? Maybe it starts there. And then what do I do with it? And then what else? Yeah, what do I do with my time? Like just over and over, that just kept coming up. And so the good news is right after lunch, Lalo Burgess, I want to say that right, Lalo Burgess, I like to roll my R's with Lalo. He's going to be talking to you guys about money. So he's going to give you a great teaching and great lesson on finances. Tomorrow, Sam Rogers is going to talk to you about time management. But before the survey even came out, I was already leaning towards, what do you do with your time? Okay, that's kind of been on my mind quite a bit. The topic comes up a lot. And so I thought I'd double down with Sam. So there's going to be a little bit of overlapping, but I don't think that you could get too much information on this. I really do believe repetition's the motor of learning. So I think between me and Sam, I think we're really going to get you thinking a little bit about, how you can effectively be great at priority management, time management. So I want to start off just with a quick story for you. So 20 years ago, John Maxwell wrote a book called Today Matters. Okay, so he writes this book, Today Matters, and he took a tour. And so I saw where he was coming to LA. So I'm like, you know what? I want to sign up for this class. And so here I am. I'm one of around 2,000 people in this auditorium, and we've got John Maxwell for approximately 10 hours, and I'm like, this is going to be fantastic. And so John gets on stage, and so here we go, everybody buckle up, and he starts off saying this. He says, give me one day. He says, I want to shadow you for one day. I want to be at your bedside when you wake up. Don't worry, I'm not going to bug you. I'm not going to, drive you crazy with a bunch of questions. I'm just going to sit there by your bedside. I'll give you a nice little wink, a nice little nod. I'm just going to write down what you're doing. And I want to follow you around all day. So when you go to the bathroom, listen, I'm going to go to the bathroom with you. I'll be looking the other way, but I want to listen to the conversations you have. I want to hear what you're listening to. If you've got an earbud in, I want the other earbud. I want to shadow you all day long. On your drive to work, I want to hear what you're listening to in your car. Are you having conversations? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you listening to music? What kind of mood are you in? At work, I want to be in all your conversations. When you're taking your breaks at work, I want to see, are you on social media or are you not on social media? What kind of conversations are you having at work? Are they productive, or is it a good use of your time? On your drive home, same thing. And then when we get home, whatever your home life looks like, whether it's, whether you're married or you have roommates, I just want to see what your home life looks like. And then as you're getting ready for bed, I want to be with you. I'm going to take the last note as you close your eyes and go into a deep sleep. And then I will be able to tell beyond a shadow of a doubt whether you're going to go on to be a huge success or a huge failure. It's like, what? Like one day. And it says your success or lack of is determined by your daily agenda. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, gee, if I volunteered, not like he was looking for volunteers, but if I volunteered, like, John, shadow me for the day, I wonder what John would say if he was the guy shadowing me. And I had a little bit of anxiety, like, if John did it with me, say, well, Jamie, I got good news and bad news. Good news is people like you. You're a likable guy. The bad news is you're not going to amount to much based on what I see of how you're using your time. And so he had everybody's attention at the start of that class, okay? Your success is determined by your daily agenda, and I really believe that to be true. And in 25 years in this business, as I've observed success, and as I've peeled the onion on what makes people succeed in the business, well, sure enough, you can see what they're doing with their time. They're using their time wisely. And the people that are frustrated, been there, done that myself as well too, it's all related again back to time. What are you doing with your time? So, I'm going to give you a quote. First time I heard this quote, I memorized it. I would highly suggest you memorize it too. It's not a long one, but I want you to think about this quote often. And the quote is from Peter Drucker. He says, managers do things right. Leaders do the right things. Peter Drucker. Now, my question to you is, are you managers or are you leaders? Nobody's volunteering. I think everybody, when I say that, you're like, well, I'm a leader. Well, really, we're both. We are managers. We want to do things right. We just finished that class on Click. Hey, I want to do things right. I want to be a good manager in my business, but I also want to be a good leader. And so what are the right things to do? And so I've got a 4-point winning formula, I'm calling it for you, a 4-point winning formula. And before I give you these 4 points, I'm looking for commitment from you. I'm going to have 4 calls to action, and I want you to commit on the front end that you're going to do what I'm going to ask you to do before I start this 4-point winning formula. Now, there's nothing shady I'm going to ask you to do. You're not going to breach your integrity or character. I'm going to ask you for some work, but I want a nod. Just give me a wink, a nod, something like that, that you're committed, you're willing to do it. Okay. All right. I appreciate it. All right, let's dive into it. Number 1, 4-point winning formula, how to be great with your time. Number 1, identify your values and clarifying statements. Identify your values and clarifying statements. Years ago, at another seminar, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we had the instructor, his name is Hoke. I'll never forget Hoke. H-O-A-C. How can you forget somebody with a name like that, right? Green Beret, I don't want to say X because I think once you're in the military, you're never X, you're just always Green Beret. But this guy was a manly man. He was strong. He's walking around the class, and I'm like, you're just listening to what this guy has to say, otherwise he's going to make you do push-ups or make your bed or something like that is what you're thinking, right? And so Hoke said something right before the break that was very disturbing. Okay, so Hoke said, you don't choose your values are exposed through your daily decisions. He said that, and then we took this 10-minute break. And I had just wrote that down, as some of you just wrote that down, I saw that, right? You don't choose your values are exposed through your daily decisions. And I'm like, I don't like what he said. I mean, this is a 7 Habits of Highly Effective People seminar. I mean, I'm not a victim. What do you mean I didn't choose? Isn't habit 1 being proactive? Like it's my choice? I choose my values? Like, I don't like what he said. So I go up to Hoke, took a gamble, right? Go up to this Green Beret guy. I'm like, hey, Hoke, I'm a little thrown off by your statement. Oh, really, Jamie? What's the matter? I'm like, and I told him, like, well, what do you mean you don't choose your values? Like what, my parents gave them to me? I just adopted their values? Society gives me my values? Like what do you mean you don't choose your values? I'm not going to necessarily dispute your values are exposed through your daily decisions. You'll probably unpack that after the break, but it's the first part I'm struggling with. So everybody comes back after the break and he picks on me. He says, okay, hey, Jamie, you want to share with me the conversation we just had? And so I regurgitated exactly what happened. And he said, you guys feel the same way as Jamie? And some people were nodding. And he says, well, can we reverse engineer it then? Right? Your values drive your decisions. Can we choose on the front end what our values are that will drive our decisions? Most people never do this. And so that was how the whole course started. And we're like, well, this is a great idea. So what I want to do, so how do you choose your values? Maybe you guys have done this exercise, maybe you haven't done this exercise, but have you taken the time to sit down and ask yourself, like, what are my values? What is important to me? Who am I exactly? Who do I want to become? But I've got an exercise I want to start with you guys, so I'm going to need 2 volunteers. Okay, hands go up right off the bat. Gentlemen, come on down. Come on down. I want you guys, let's stand right here. You're going to need a table. Okay, you're going to need a table. I've got 2 packs of cards here. Okay, these are called, so I bought this on Amazon called the Values Cards. And this was from the seminar 20 years ago with Mr. John Maxwell, similar. Okay, and so I just want to go through these values cards so you guys get an idea of what's going on. Here's a value of diversity, customer satisfaction, efficiency, fun, recognition, loyalty, money, wealth, change, growth, the list goes on. Okay, probably around 50 values in here. So you're each going to take a deck. Okay, take a deck and just stand right by that table. Take this deck. Stand right by that table. And so exercise 1 is just take the cards, and you can talk out loud with the people that are watching you if you so choose to. You don't have to, though. But the cards that you identify with are go in one pile, and the values that like, yeah, this ain't me, goes into another pile. There's no right or wrong number, just like what's important to you, what's not important to you, go. With the cards that you guys have, narrow it down to your top 10. That's exactly what we said in the audience as well, too, at the John Maxwell seminar. We all said, ooh. That's exactly what we said. Because now it gets interesting. Okay, great. Now narrow it down to your top 5. And that's exactly what we said at the Maxwell seminar. We said, oh, got 10. Which one do you keep? Which one do you discard? All right. Last time, narrow it down to 3. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, how do you discard family?
In my head, spirituality and family, they kind of align.
Okay, let's give it up for our friends here. Thank you. Thank you. You know, years ago, I'm watching some Sunday football, and Philip Rivers was on, and he talked about I think he runs a class now on this, but he talked about his 3 values of faith, family, and football. And I'm kind of like, oh wow, I went through this whole exercise myself, and my cards were faith, family, and freedom. I'm like, hey, me and Philip Rivers, we got something going on. So my first Franklin Covey class, which was all about teaching priority management. Okay, different guy than Hoke, but a very, I don't know how I want to put it. I don't know if he was necessarily a drill instructor, but he gave us this exercise. He said, okay, listen, you have 48 hours. I was at this class with Vera. You have 48 hours to write down your values. I want you to think about it. This class is going to come to an end. Don't waste this opportunity here. You've got 48 hours to write down your values and a clarifying statement. And it's kind of like, okay, listen, I went through this course, Gary recommended this course for me, so I'm like, well, I'm not going to not do something the instructor says. And so that's going to be your first call to action. However, I'm going to be a little kinder, and I'm going to give you 72 hours. Okay? I'm going to give you till Sunday night, but you have between now and Sunday night to write down your first draft of what your values and clarifying statements are. I'll give you just a few examples, because some of you guys are like, well, clarifying statements, what do you mean by that? So it's one thing to write down your value. So this little sheet, I know you guys can't see all the words here, but I have this sheet under a piece of glass on my desk where my family can see it. Every month I'm reviewing this. I'm potentially altering some. I mean, this has kind of been like a living, breathing document for the last 20 years of my life. And so if there's any hypocrisy going on in my life, like, Dad, you say this is a value, but what I see is something else, feel free to call me out. I want to be totally transparent with my family, friends, anybody that comes over to my house. I had Ken Gutnick come over the other day, and I'm showing it to him, and he's reading it, and he's like, yeah, Jamie, this describes you. So I'll just give you 4 that I want to share with you to get your hamsters running a little bit, but this is called action number 1. I'm holding you guys accountable. You committed before I started. You got 72 hours. So here's 4. So I have the value of marriage. Joanne, my wife, is a gift from God. Love and cherish her as the most important person in my life. I've got personal growth on here. The clarifying statement, personal growth is never accidental. It's intentional. Be a great student of great leaders. Be curious. Embody the Mamba mentality. Better today than yesterday. Better tomorrow than today. I have generosity and charitable giving. Always give 10% of my income. When it comes to money, be a river, not a reservoir. And I'll give you one more, freedom. As I told you when I did the exercise, freedom is one of the values that came up. I'm like, yeah, this is important to me. It's not my ability to choose that makes me free. It's the decisions that I make within that freedom that makes me free. Choose wisely. So that's your exercise. Whether you come up with 5 or you come up with 25. This list right here has 30. Again, over 20 years, it's been slightly pivoting and changing every month. The first Sunday of every month, I sit down, I review these. Is this really who I am? Have I changed a little bit? Am I discarding a value? Am I adding a new value? My list didn't start off with 30, I can promise you that. I think the first time I did this, it might have been 15. But that's homework assignment number 1.